Welcome to Short Scale Modelling. This is part 4 of Revell's Airbus A300-600 ST Beluga. Scale is 1 to 144. In part 3 I concentrated on the wings and the engines. In this part I'm going to be putting most things together and getting on with the painting and perhaps some decals. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. So to start off with, I'm giving it a coat of paint, and this is going to be the main coat of paint that the model is receiving, and I'm going to be using Revell Aquacolor 04 Gloss White, and this is the main colour. It's a large kit, so I've got a medium-sized brush here, and I'm just giving it sweeping strokes to start with. Then I'll refine the painting as I go along, holding the paintbrush lightly in my hand and just sweeping it over the model. And this will get rid of most of the brush marks and things like that while I'm painting. I've set the fuselage off to one side to dry, so I'm just going to be placing the engines on here. There's only two location points that hold the pylon for the engine, and it was a straightforward fit. One of them I did have to open up slightly, just using my knife and creating a larger hole, but only very slightly for it to fit. Otherwise, they fitted quite easily. Then it's back to another coat of painting. This will take about 2, possibly 3 coats until I'm happy with it. And once the final coat's on and dried, I'm using Winsor & Newton gloss varnish to give everything a coat of varnish before I place on the decals. So as you can see here, I've fast forwarded this process just because it's decaling. There's not much to say about decaling, unless you have any problems, which I did have a little bit, but I'll go into that. Now, you may be wondering why I'm decaling it without the completed model, putting the wings on. It's just easier to put them on at this stage and to line them up, but it's crucial that you make sure everything fits first, as in the wings. The wing roots are not going to be a problem, so I've dry fitted about 3 or 4 times, possibly more, just making sure that everything is going to fit once these decals are on. So they're quite large decals, and in retrospect I should have just cut them in sections and put them on instead of having the one sweeping decal on there. This side that I'm working on went alright. The other side sort of creased up a little bit and broke, and I had to play around with that a bit until I was almost satisfied. I'm using Microsol here as my solution. Now this is very important to use on decals like this. It's contouring to a surface. It will soften up the decal such a way that it will just hold on to the surface. The downside is it can tear the decal quite easily, so you have to be sure and quick when you're placing them on if you're using a lot of the Microsol. The nameplates and the decals and that went on fine. There's actually not that many decals to go on the Airbus itself. They don't supply a lot of stenciling decals, and the ones you do supply, there's slight options where you don't have to put them on one particular side according to the instructions. So that's what I did. The decals on the tail stabilizers here were very simple, as the front one as well, just slightly off camera there while I position it. But overall they went okay, apart from the one on the tail. But I'll show you once the model's complete, because that's still drying at this stage actually. There was only 1 or 2 decals for the engines themselves as well. Again, they went on without any problems whatsoever. Now I've let the decals dry overnight. I want to make sure they're 100% dry before I handle them. So now it's time to place on the wings, and they just slotted in the wing root, not a problem. I did have to file down a little bit of the connection point, I mean just a micron really, just to make sure that everything was alright. I done that off camera. It was just a little sweep with the file just to get it in, and once it was in I just held it there for a few minutes until it had bonded. Onto the rear wings. Now, because the decals gone onto the connection point, which is stated in the instructions, I'm just scoring off a little bit so that the cement can do its job. It doesn't take a lot. I've got a sharp knife here, so it's just a matter of scoring it along. I'll rip the decal slightly before placing it in, and I'll put the cement on the actual root itself, not on the fuselage. That way, if my hand slips, I'm not going to be ruining the paintwork or the decal with it. So it just pushes in. Now I should note as well, the stabilization fin is actually wrong. I've got it at a slight angle. It should have actually been a 90-degree angle. I will sort that out later on. But when I do, I'll have to make sure everything's dry first. It's just a matter of pushing it into position. It's not a great deal. I'll crack it a little bit, then just re-cement it, and it should be fine. Next wing is going on, or the last wing. Again, that went on the same as the opposite side. A little bit more trickier, this one. It didn't take quite enough off the wing root, so that took a little bit of more holding. But I didn't want to play about with it too much, because obviously I didn't want to affect the decals or the paintwork at this stage. So if you are doing it the way I do it, you have to be very careful when you come to the actual assembly part, because you don't want to ruin all your good work. So it's now time to place in the landing gear. So I'm just putting in a little bit of cement. This is the front one that had already came off. If you remember, I said I'd put that on near the end. And it's just a simple repair job. I'm placing it back on. Next, I'm assembling the main landing gear. The wheels themselves, so I've got the little axle that goes through its receiving hole there. There's two sets of these, obviously. The hole that goes through is a little bit tight, but I managed to get them through. They were a little bit stubborn, but once they were done, it was time to repaint the wheels, just the bits where the wheel had met the sprue, really. So I'm using, once again, light colours, black and rubber shades, tire black, for the actual tires themselves. It was then time to place on the landing gear. The struts in that themselves went on very easily. There's 3 location points for it to hold on to. I just anchored one side, then leant in the opposite side. I needed a little bit of manoeuvring on the piston bar to get it into place, but it was no trouble really. The last main assembly are the covers for the landing gear. Now they come in a solid state, so you have to cut them if you've got the landing gear down. There is a preformed line for you to do this. So a small score with the knife and just bending it to break them open. And then it was a simple case of adding them to the landing gear bay. They went in very easily. The whole build, in fact, has been quite easy. And there's a couple of small clear parts I have to place on some lights. Now, some of them are far too small for me to see or for my tools to grip. So this is the only main one I'm placing on. The other ones I've got to place on, I'm using a different method. And what I'm doing is I've got some canopy glue here, so it's micro crystal clear. And I'm just putting a blob of this where the light should be, and this will act as a clear coat when it's dry. It's designed to do this. You can use it as a window as well, if you need to fill in a window. Then it's just a case of final coat of varnish and it's all done. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date with all of my builds. Hit that like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.